Because leaders of the Congress party have repeatedly said that it was V.D. Savarkar who actually advocated for the two-nation theory. The Congress party has said that Savarkar laid the foundation for partition all the way back in 1935. Leader after leader of the party has publicly declared that it was Savarkar who was behind the creation of Pakistan. But today, Pakistan has come out to claim credit for the partition, and it's the Pakistan Army chief, no less, who says that it was their forefathers who felt the need for two nations, and also went on to say that they are different from Hindus. Pakistan Army chief Asim Munir says that Hindus and Muslims have different religion, customs and traditions, adding that this became the reason for their forefathers to mount a struggle to create Pakistan. And that begs the question that's being asked tonight. Is the Congress blaming and maligning Veer Savarkar even over the partition solely for the sake of appeasing a certain vote bank? Listen into this hate-filled rant of the Pakistan Army chief.
The first advocate of the two-nation theory was actually V.D. Savarkar as the head of the Hindu Mahasabha.
कि अगर इस देश में टू नेशन थ्योरी की किसी ने न्यू रखी थी तो 1935 में अहमदाबाद में हिंदू महासभा के सेशन में सावरकर ने रखी थी.
So the first proponent of the two-nation theory was the ideological guru of those who are currently in power in India.
Let me introduce our panelists. Joining us with us is Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Also with us, of course, is Tausif Ahmad Khan, lawyer and political analyst. With us is Kishore Tiwari, leader of the Shiv Sena UBT. Joining us also is Professor Monojit Mandal, political analyst. Let me start first and foremost with our panelists who are joining us at the moment. Tausif Ahmad Khan, first question to you. Here you have the Pakistan Army chief who has made that hate-filled speech. He comes out and says that, it is the leaders or Jinnah in particular, who are forefathers, he says, of his country, who have actually brought in the two-nation theory. The question that many are asking is that doesn't this somewhere or the other take away from what Congress repeatedly says as far as the role of Savarkar is concerned? Because there is enough evidence to show that Savarkar wasn't the first one to come out with this two-nation theory. Is it only for ideological reasons then that repeatedly the name of Savarkar is taken, Tausif?
No, it is all a fact and part of the history, recorded history. In fact, in one of the litigation, the court has allowed Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition, to bring the records on, to bring the facts on records, which therefore, what Pakistan Army chief is saying, we are not concerned. What we are concerned about is the Indian National Freedom National Movement. We all read in the history that the Indian National Movement, which was led by the Mahatma Gandhi, there was a split only on this point that there will have to be a separate nation for Hindu, that people of different religion cannot live in one country under one scheme of the governance. And that was Savarkar, Mr. Savarkar, and he has been proven wrong. We have the Constitution of India, we have the people.
There are many points of dispute in what you just said, Tausif. And at the end of the day, let me remind you, the reason that we cannot separate our freedom movement from those who are responsible for partition is that very much those who are part of or reason for the partition were part of this freedom movement. It is on the day of 1947, the moment of independence, that two nations were created. Whether we like it or not, that's a part of recorded history. But let me read out to you some of the statements that have been made by different leaders. And this is, of course, in 1886, this is recorded in a book called Rediscovering Gandhi, Volume 1 by Rameshwar Prasad Mishra. This is what Syed Ahmad Khan said in 1886. I am now convinced that Hindus and Muslims as their religion and way of life was quite distinct from one another, could never become one nation. I am convinced these communities will not join wholeheartedly in anything at present. There is no open hostility between the communities, but it will increase immensely in the future. This is pretty much prescribing the two-nation theory. Tausif Ahmad Khan, why are you blaming only Savarkar then?
No, look, it will... No, we will be doing injustice if we try and pass a decision or a decree in this 2 or 3 minutes of debate. The court proceedings are going on, which I've just told you. You can check the record where Rahul Gandhi will present the Pakistani Army general has said something. Are we going to rely on what Pakistani Army General says? We have read it.
Rely on them. Rely on what I'm telling you. And I will give you more evidence through the course of the show. But anyway, Dr. Anand Ranathan, why are we going by what the Pak Army Chief is saying? It's a hate-filled rant in any case. Please respond to Tausif Ahmed Khan.
Look, I think it's not about the Pakistani general or whoever from that terror state to say anything for us to rebut. Let me talk about what we Indians are saying. Shashi Tharoor says Savarkar was the proponent of two-nation theory. Is he trying to rewrite history? I'm afraid there is as much intellect in him as there is MDH garam masala in authentic Tamilian sambar. Decades before Jinnah or Savarkar, please hear me carefully. Decades before Jinnah or Savarkar, it was Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, the founder of Aligarh Muslim University, who proposed the two-nation theory, and I quote him now, verbatim quote, Hindus and Muslims are two antagonistic races. Is it possible that two nations, Hindus and Muslims, could sit on the same throne and remain equal in power? We do not want to become subjects of the Hindus, unquote. But even decades before Sir Syed, it was Karl Marx who gave the very first exposition of the two-nation theory in his book, The Eastern Question, 1853, and I quote him now. The Quran and the Musalman legislation emanating from it reduced the geography and ethnography of the various people of the simple and convenient distinction of two nations and two countries, those of the faithful and those of the infidels. So this is the problem. In this country, you don't neither history, nor politics, nor common sense.
Respond to that. I want Tehseen to come in on that. Tehseen, why are we ignoring what has been stated by Syed Ahmad Khan? Coming to each of you panelists, there are 6 of you. I'm going to come to each of you one by one. Please be a little patient. Tehseen, I'm going to read out what Allama Iqbal has said. This is what Allama Iqbal declared in 1930, much before the 35 statement of Mr. Savarkar. He says, I would like to see Punjab, NWFP, Sindh, Baluchistan amalgamate into a single state. The formation of a consolidated Northwest Indian Muslim state appears to me the final destiny of Muslims, at least of Northwestern India. Allama Iqbal, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, there are multiple people who have proposed this, but only Savarkar will be blamed for two-nation theory. Why is that the case?
No, Madhav, so you're right. As so far as history is concerned, both my MDH-loving, non-Tamilian, more Punjabi Dr. Anand Ranganathan, and you're absolutely right on
a lighter note, sorry, Tehseen, you know, if there is a legal notice from Mahashadi Hatti, I'm going to send it right to you, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. With that caveat continuing, yes.
And he can go to the Supreme Court of India.
Don't propose the two-cuisine theory.
All right. Carry on.
But yes, you're right that it was Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and after that it was Mohammad Iqbal who did propose this, followed by Savarkar, who said it in the Hindu Mahasabha in 1935-1937, followed by Jinnah, who then proposed it, followed by Savarkar ji, who then had a press conference endorsing Jinnah. So that has been the history of it. The Congress was the least. The question about it is not about who proposed it, what happened. The debate today is the army chief of Pakistan's made a hateful speech. He's today endorsing Jinnah. Jinnah, the person, the BJP ex-president and former deputy prime minister of our country, Advani ji, bowed down on his mazar and said is the most secular man in India's history. Why is the army chief of Pakistan today relevant? Whether it was Jinnah who proposed it, whether it was Mohammad Iqbal who proposed it as one of the founding fathers of Pakistan, or anyone else, how does that matter to us today? Why is the BJP today endorsing the army chief of Pakistan? Again, who's praising Jinnah? Jinnah who BJP endorsed. Okay. That is the point.
Okay. Sanju Verma, respond to that. LK Advani said that Jinnah had a secular vision. He went to Pakistan. He praised him. He had to even eventually step down as BJP president, if I'm not mistaken. Respond to that. Why are you giving credence to what the army chief has said? Once again, the question coming in. Respond. Sanju Verma.
You know, Madhav, this is a very serious debate, but since many people have been, speaking in a lighter vein, if Mohammad Ali Jinnah was secular, then Tehseen is Elvis Presley and Sanju Verma is Queen Victoria. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So let's stick to the hard facts. The hard facts are these. You know, yes, the two-nation theory was propounded in 1876 at a large public gathering at Banaras, but it was not by Veer Savarkar. It was propounded by Sir Syed Ahmad Ali Khan. And let me tell you, when in 1876, this two-nation theory was... Sorry, who's giving this background music?
Carry on, make your point.
And in 1876, when the two-nation... In 1876, when the two-nation theory was propounded, Madhav, Veer Savarkar was not even born. Veer Savarkar was born in 1883. तो आप ये कहना चाहते हैं कि सावरकर के जन्म से पहले सावरकर ने टू नेशन थियरी propound कर दी. I mean, where does Manish Tiwari, the Congress leader, get his history lessons from? But be that as it may, you know, we are all aware of what Allama Iqbal said. We are all aware of what Mohammad Ali Jinnah said in 1940 at the Lahore session. We are aware of what Rahmat Ali Khan Chaudhry said. But what we need to also understand is what Sitaram Goel said. And I think very quickly in 20 seconds, I will just read out what Sitaram Goel said in his book, Muslim Separatism, Causes and Consequences. He says if the Hindus sang Vande Mataram in a public meeting, it was a conspiracy to convert Muslims into kafirs. If the Hindus blew a conch or broke a coconut or garlanded the portrait of a revered patriot, it was apparently an attempt to force Muslims into idolatry. If the Hindus spoke in any of their native languages, it was supposedly an affront to the culture of Islam. If the Hindus took pride in their pre-Islamic heroes, it was apparently a devaluation of Islamic history, and so on. There were many more objections, major and minor, to every national self-expression by Muslims. In short, it was a demand that Hindus should cease to be Hindus and become instead a faceless conglomeration of rootless individuals.
Okay.
This was a demand by Muslims. Says Sitaram Goel that Hindus should become faceless.
Okay.
ये
Let me bring in.
सीताराम गोयल ने कहा है, इसे बीजेपी वाले ने नहीं कहा.
Okay, let me bring in Monojit Mandal now.
So
Professor Monojit Mandal, apart from what has been quoted so far, and I've given you examples of at least two individuals who have made these statements before Savarkar, there is also, of course, the fact that Jinnah is the one who led Direct Action Day. He's the one who executed the partition along with the Congress's agreement in 47. So, you know, whitewashing Jinnah's role is, of course, one question. There's also what B.R. Ambedkar wrote, and I'm just going to quickly read from that. This is, of course, written in 1940. He says that Mr. Jinnah says India should be cut up into two, Pakistan and Hindustan. Mr. Savarkar, on the other hand, insists that although there are two nations in India, India shall not be divided into two parts, that the two nations shall dwell in one country and shall live under the mantle of one single constitution. This is Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Will you not take his words at face value? And
I think, Mr. Madhav, you need to go slightly, before 1930s. The split of the nation, or the seeds of the split of the nation, I think lied in 1906 only. Immediately after the first partition of Bengal, with the foundation of Muslim League in 1906, followed by 9 years down the line, foundation of the Hindu Mahasabha. That was founded to counter the Muslim League. So I think and that happened because of the split of the Congress party itself, right? And Khwaja Salimullah, who was the Nawab of Dhaka, he founded Muslim League, and it was being chaired by none other than Jinnah. But prior to Jinnah, would you believe the same Jinnah fought for Bal Gangadhar Tilak when he was arrested on a wrong charge by the British in 1898? It was Jinnah who fought for
Exactly. And this is exactly why I told another panelist that it's difficult to separate partition and the freedom movement, because all the players were very well associated and all those movements worked parallelly. But the larger question, Professor Mandal, just allow me one intervention. I am just asking you a simple question. Why then put all the blame for two-nation theory at the doorstep of V.D. Savarkar? You yourself have proved that construct is wrong then.
We're missing only another major point in all this, another major player. It was the British who, sowed the seeds of division among the Hindus and the Muslims. If you look at the history of riots in India, the most number of riots took place during the British regime. And we have got a very famous book by our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Suranjan Das, The History of Riots in India, British India, from 1905 to 1941. It was because of the British, because they watched silently Hindus and Muslims fighting. And the split of the nation, the seeds of the split, I think, lied in 1906. And thereafter,
you have very eloquently today on the show absolved Mr. Savarkar. You have not said a single reason why this should be attributed to Veer Savarkar.
In 1935-36, What was happening before that was just being executed by both Savarkar and Mr. Jinnah. Having said that, even in many of the provincial states, Hindu Mahasabha came together with the Muslim League. That happened even in this part of the country.
Okay.
Right? When they were forming the federal state, in some states, they came together also.
Okay.
I mentioned
okay. One by one. Dr. Anand Ramthan, I want you to respond to that. At the end of the day, if the Hindu Mahasabha and the Muslim League are functioning together, if they are sharing power, and that kind of opportunism existed, in the pre-independence days, then what are we talking about in terms of taking a higher moral ground today? Dr. Ranganathan.
Madhav, look, I'll keep it very simple. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to rewrite history? Are we trying to negate facts? Is there anybody on the panel who can kindly, and I challenge anyone, in a spirit of friendliness and bonhomie, please rebut what Sir Syed said, that Hindus and Muslims are antagonistic races. Please rebut what Karl Marx said, that the two-nation theory has its origin in the Islamic holy books. If you can't do that, then accept it and move on, na? इतना virtue signaling और rattle क्यों हो रहे हो भाई? Muslims want two-nation theory. They are proud of it. Why are you ashamed of it? Tausif, be proud.
You are deleting the name of Aurangzeb and Akbar Road. You are changing these names because you think by changing the name of the streets and name of the roads, you can rewrite the history. You are producing movies.
Please come back to Savarkar. Tausif, those are very, very relevant issues. I completely appreciate your emotion. They are very important issues. We have discussed them also, name changing in the past. Let's come back to Savarkar and the freedom movement, please. I request to just come back to the subject of the debate and the reasons surrounding what has taken place.
Name changing is a very important part. That's called rewriting history. BJP
we are discussing those issues. We will discuss those issues and continue to debate them. Today, let's come back to this. Nowhere has anybody been able to prove that the comments that have been made by other panelists, that it's not Savarkar but several others who were the ones who were the proponents of the two-nation theory much before him, in fact decades before him, who have come out. Let me bring in Kishore Tiwari now. Kishore Tiwari, your response to all those who have come out to say that do not at the end of the day, discount the role that Savarkar played, because at that point of time Savarkar was one of those who was a proponent of the two-nation theory. Your response to them?
देखिए, सावरकर का जो आत्मा है तो वो कांग्रेस से को इतना परेशान क्यों कर रहा मुझे मालूम नहीं। अगर आप भारत के विभाजन को जिम्मेदार समझते हैं तो जिम्मेदार कौन थे? एग्जीक्यूट किसने किया था? जिन्ना साहब ने इंसिस्ट किया था, उसके पहले भी किया था। तो इंस्ट्रूमेंटल तो जिन्ना साहब ही थे और जवाहरलाल नेहरू थे। तो कहाँ सावरकर को ले आए आप? और सावरकर जी ने टू नेशन थ्योरी दी थी तो उसको एग्जीक्यूट कहाँ किया इन्होंने? और मुझे बताइए, सावरकर जी का।
किशोर तिवारी जी, सिंपल सवाल है आपसे, एक सिंपल सवाल है। आपके पार्टी के लीडर उद्धव ठाकरे ने कहा है दैट वी रिस्पेक्ट सावरकर, वी विल नॉट टॉलरेट एनी इंसल्ट टू हिम, इफ यू वांट टू फाइट बीजेपी डू ऑन गवर्नेंस एंड पॉलिसी, नॉट बाय डिफेमिंग आवर आइकन्स। क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप मनोजीत मंडल और तहसीन पूनावाला को?
नहीं, मैं तहसीन को भी कहूंगा और मंडल को भी कहूंगा कि देश के सामने जो समस्या है उस पे हम एक होके लड़ेंगे। ये अब कहाँ संदर्भ है वीर सावरकर जी का? और वीर सावरकर जी जब भारत का विभाजन हुआ तब कौन से रोल में थे? क्या बात कर रहे हो आप?
प्रोफेसर मंडल, क्विक रिस्पॉन्स।
Madhav, you have to give time to BJP.
I will come to you. Please be patient. There are 6 panelists. I will come to each of you, please.
I think I tried to make my point very clear. The Pakistan was somewhat born with the birth of Muslim League itself in 1906, right? And when in 1936-35, this just being executed by Mr. Jinnah, which was supported certainly by Mr. Savarkar. That's history for you. But again, nonetheless, I'm saying that in 1936, there was, for God's sake, there was no real freedom movement. People knew that Britishers are going to go out very soon. That had happened immediately after the beginning of the Second World War. The real freedom movement took place in the 1915 and 1920s, not after 1930. Just the last part of the movement led by Gandhi was in 1942, when even Mr. Gandhi realized that the British are not going to be able to sustain the Indian Empire because of their commitment to the Second World War.
So what's the point you're making?
That they had to. My point is very simple. The point is, please do not bring in the idea of nationalism and freedom movement when you talk about the division of India. The India was divided with the birth of Muslim League, followed by the birth of Hindu Mahasabha, and the Britishers enjoyed that.
You have also absolved Savarkar nilly in any case, whether unwittingly or not, Professor Mandal. But Sanju Verma, respond to that. At the end of the day, he says that this Savarkar was part of a long process that started with the birth of Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha. Your response?
Thank you. Madhav, I'm very patient, but since this is a feisty debate, I wanted to butt in and make my point heard. Let's get one thing very clear. First and foremost, let's not conflate Hindu Mahasabha with the Muslim League. That's my first point. Because the moment Jinnah joined the Muslim League in 1913, what he categorically stated was this. The objective of the Muslim League is to create among Muslims the feelings of loyalty towards the British government. Hindu Mahasabha fought against the Britishers. Jinnah's Muslim League said, let's be loyal to the colonial powers. Let's be loyal to the Britishers. And the second most important objective of the Muslim League was to safeguard the political rights of the Muslims and to convey that to the government. Basically, the Muslim League was founded on the grounds of parochialism, on the grounds of Muslim dominance, on the grounds of subjugation of Hindus, and on the grounds of being subservient to the colonial masters.
Very well. Sanju Verma, very well. Let me assume, may I ask you a question? May I ask you a question in the context of what you're saying? Let me assume that what you're saying is 100% correct. Why then is Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, founder of the Janasangh, which is the ideological precursor of the BJP, and who was then the president of the Hindu Mahasabha, entering into coalition governments with the same Muslim League in Bengal, Sindh and NWFP? That is the question that is being posed by Professor Mandal.
Madhav, let's be very clear. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee is a big name when it comes to the Sangh. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee also was a career congressman for the longest time. Just like Mohammad Ali Jinnah joined the Muslim League in 1913, but I'm sure you are aware, he left the Congress only in 1920. So, if you have to point a finger at somebody, then let's point a finger at Mohammad Ali Jinnah, who was more Congressy than a lot of the Congress darbaris on your panel today. Why is it that nobody asks questions of Mohammad Ali Jinnah and his darbaris, like Kanhaiya Kumar, who said in JNU, Azadi lekar rahenge Jinnah style.
Well, these are historical facts. These are historical facts, but let me bring in Tehseen on the simple point. Tehseen, one point though stands out. Coming to you, Dr. Ranganathan, just coming to you, please. Tehseen, there are many hands going on. Please, this becomes very difficult. Everyone speaks at the same time. Please bear with me. Tehseen, the point being made over here is this, that, this repeated compulsion to take Savarkar's name, and, it's one thing to have an ideological war. Savarkar is seen as some kind of ideological opponent, and that's fine. But to completely whitewash the role of all these others, because you will have the BJP and others who come out and say that this is nothing but vote bank politics. Just make a devil out of Savarkar for your own ideological and political gains and your vote bank politics.
Look, to an extent, I agree with what the good Professor Mondal said. Ultimately, and as you rightly posed to the BJP spokesperson, all these alliances that happened between the Muslim League and the Hindu Mahasabha was to keep who out of governance? The Congress. Now, let me give you with dates, because the Congress CWC is always recorded. March 1940, Congress CWC rejects the two-nation theory. 2nd April 1942, during negotiations, Congress in writing rejects the Cripps mission. Then in 1946, once again, that's August 16 to 20. I request you, please, Madhav, I don't do this. It's not fair to your viewers. I never do this.
Nobody's interrupted anyone so far on this panel. Let's keep it that way, please. Yeah.
August 16 to 20th, the Congress Working Committee meeting, 1946. Nehru's press conference after that, very clearly saying we will not have a two-nation theory. When does the Congress finally accept the two-nation theory? The Congress only accepts the two-nation theory on June 3rd, 1947. It officially agrees to it. Before that, all its resolution even says, look, let's have two federal states, but let's not have a two-nation theory. They're the last to accept it. What Professor Mondal and what I am trying to say is that there were two people who benefited benefited from this. One was Jinnah. Jinnah is the man who destructed this country. But
so why are you whitewashing his role? Why are you whitewashing his role is the question
no,
that
the
many
only
are asking.
people who said he's secular and went to his mazar and did sajda with the BJP
let me bring in Kishore Tiwari on that. You know, because Kishore Tiwari, here you have the Congress party which continues to target Savarkar, says he is a beneficiary of 1947 just like Jinnah is. How do you respond to that?
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. What nonsense Congress is talking, I do not know. But he was under detention that time. And unnecessarily giving Savarkar the credit of a partition, whereas Jinnah is the father of nation of Pakistan. What is happening this? If Veer Savarkar would have been a father of Pakistan then, what is this nonsense? What is this nonsense that Congress leaders are doing? We want to focus on economic issues, the corruption in the government, the tariff war in the government. Unnecessarily, they are bringing Veer Savarkar. That has damaged our vote bank in Maharashtra very much by associating with Congress. And this was the Congress should refrain from making the such statement. And Savarkar was not instrumental in the partition also. Why are you blaming? Whereas
Tehseen, it's damaged a vote bank in Maharashtra. Please respond. You are also from Maharashtra. Please respond to Mr. Tiwari.
I do agree that in the later part of his life, Savarkar did say post that when he meant a two nation was not two separate countries, but more of a federal structure. Look, all I'm saying is we're getting into something what the army chief of Pakistan said, and the only people benefiting from it is the BJP, who've always idolized and lionized Jinnah and have been in government with Jinnah. Nobody in the Congress has wanted this. The Congress did not like Jinnah, they disassociated Jinnah, and the only reason the BJP's forefathers and alliance with Jinnah was to keep the Congress out of power.
All right, but you know, there are several nuances in what you have stated. You're not factually completely correct. On April 2nd, 1942, the CWC criticized the secessionist idea. Its stance on partition changed from time to time. Now, at the same time, in the election manifesto of 1945, it reiterated its principle, setting at naught Jagat Narayan Lal's resolution adopted by AICC in 1942, which ruled out liberty to any component state or territorial unit to succeed. In 1944, Gandhi himself offered Jinnah his plan for two sovereign independent states. So there are several flip-flops that have come in from the Congress party itself. Quick 30 seconds, Anand Ranganathan.
Yes, first of all, look, it's embarrassing for a scientist to tell others history, but what people are saying is factually wrong. I am not a votary for Shyama Prasad Mukherjee joining the government, but he did not join hands with Jinnah as is being said. It was Fazul Haq's ministry. Now, number two, as far as the Pakistan general is concerned, I want to ask him, well, through you, Madhav, the two-nation theory was demolished by Pakistan breaking into Bangladesh itself. Iska koi jawab hai?
All right. I think we'll have to leave it with that question. Of course, no one from the Pakistan side here to defend that particular position. I'd like to thank all our panelists, Sanju Verma, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Tehseen Poonawala, Tausif Ahmed Khan, Kishore Tiwari, Professor Monijit Mandal. Thank you so much for joining us on the debate this evening.